The summer sun was just beginning to peek over the rooftops when Jake Thompson rolled up the rusted garage door of Thompson's Auto Repair. The hinges let out a familiar screech. He'd been meaning to oil them for weeks, but that sound was as much a part of his morning as the beat of his own heart. Wiping his hands on a rag stained with yesterday's grease, the smell of motor oil and coffee clung to his faded blue work shirt. The shop was small, just 2 bays and a waiting area that doubled as his office, but it was his. Or it would be once he finished paying off the loan. Jake took a swig of lukewarm coffee from his chipped "Buy One Dad" mug, just as the sound of an engine sputtering caught his ear. A sleek BMW, far too nice for this part of town, limped into the lot, its check engine light glowing like a warning beacon. The driver's door flung open, and out stumbled a woman in blue scrubs, dark hair escaping from a messy bun. A little boy followed close behind, clutching a well-loved stuffed dinosaur, his eyes wide with worry. Jake recognized her instantly. Lena, the ER nurse from St. Mary's. She'd brought her car in for an oil change a few months ago, and he'd noticed back then how her hands trembled from exhaustion as she handed over her keys. It just died," Lena gasped, pressing a hand to her chest. "On the highway. I barely made it off the exit." Jake was already moving, popping the hood before she could finish. Heat radiated from the engine, and the smell of burnt wiring hit him hard. "Alternator's shot," he said after a quick inspection. Lena's face dropped. "How much?" Jake paused. He knew what a new alternator cost for a BMW, nearly $800, not including labor. But the dark circles under Lena's eyes, and the way her son clung to her leg, told him everything he needed to know. "I've got a used one in the back," he said. "Pulled it from a junker last week, still in good shape. With labor, $200. Lena's shoulders sagged in relief, but her expression twisted with worry. I can't. My shift starts in an hour, and if I'm late again, daycare charges." $80, Jake cut in. Her head snapped up. "That's half your usual rate." He shrugged. "Kids need their mom." While Lena called the hospital to explain she'd be late, Jake got to work. The alternator was a tough fit, but he'd done this job 100 times. As he worked, he caught snippets of Lena soothing her son. "Yes, buddy, we'll get your dino to the vet soon." Jake smirked. The stuffed dinosaur had a torn arm, stuffing poking out like guts. By the time he tightened the last bolt, sweat was dripping down his temples. He wiped his hands and slid out from under the hood. "Good as new," he said. Lena's smile was worth every penny he'd knocked off the price. "I don't know how to thank you. Just pay it forward," he said, handing her the keys. As she buckled her son into the back seat, Jake didn't notice her discreetly snapping a photo of his shop license. The BMW purred to life, but as Lena pulled away, Jake's phone buzzed. The bank. Another reminder about his overdue loan payment. He sighed, staring across the street at the Carter Automotive Group billboard. The mega chain had been swallowing up independent shops like his, turning them into soulless express lube centers. "Not mine," he thought fiercely. "Not ever." Little did he know, fate had other plans. Jake was elbow-deep in a '98 Ford pickup the next morning when the roar of a luxury engine cut through the garage. He glanced up to see a black Escalade parked diagonally across 2 spots, its tinted windows gleaming. A man in a tailored suit stepped out, dress shoes clicking against the oil-stained concrete. Jake's stomach sank. "Repo man? IRS?" "Jacob Thompson?" The man's voice was polished, completely out of place in the gritty shop. Jake wiped his hands on his jeans. "That's me. Miss Lena Carter requests your presence." He handed Jake a business card. Jake's fingers left grease smudges on the embossed letters. Lena Carter. Carter Automotive Group. The blood drained from his face. The nurse. The BMW. The photo. The Escalade delivered Jake to a downtown skyscraper. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor was silent, except for the pounding of Jake's heart. Lena, no, Miss Carter, stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows. Her scrubs had been replaced by a sharp navy suit. The stuffed dinosaur sat proudly on her desk. "You're not here to shut me down," Jake blurted out. Lena turned, smiling. "No, I'm here to hire you." She slid a folder across the glass desk. Position: Director of Mechanics. Salary: $150,000 a year, plus equity, bonuses. Full ownership of Thompson's Auto. Loan cleared. Jake's knees nearly buckled. She explained. 1. She'd visited 17 shops incognito. Only Jake had prioritized people over profits. 2. He'd help her overhaul Carter's customer service model. No more upselling, no more predatory loans. We've drained the trust out of this business. We've lost our soul, she said. Help me get it back. Jake stared at the contract. This was everything he needed. Security, his shop's future, a chance to change the industry. But what about my guys? My regulars? Lena's eyes gleamed. Bring your team. Keep your loyal customers' discounts. Run your shop your way, just with our resources. Jake thought of his dad's old toolbox, dented but dependable, of Mrs. Ruiz, who paid him in tamales when her Social Security check was late, of the way Lena's son hugged that dinosaur. He picked up the pen. The new Thompson's Auto, now part of Carter's Neighborhood First initiative, boasted fresh equipment, but the same heart. Jake's team still undercharged single moms. Mrs. Ruiz's tamales were now legendary in the corporate cafeteria. And Lena? She became Jake's fiercest ally, often sneaking away from board meetings to test shops undercover. As for the dinosaur, it got a mechanic's jacket, stitched by Jake himself.